everybody on the?
Ms. Beal.
Present.
Gilman. Here. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
Counselor Weber.
Here.
Mr. Lamas.
Here.
Ms. Talarico is absent. Ms. Tortorella.
Here.
Mr. Weinstein.
Here.
Beautiful.
Okay, let me see. Executive session, call to order. Okay, President's report. So last week was New Jersey's school boards, which was fun to be there present for that sustainability award. So it's great to see that, and also walking around and seeing some of the people we do business with. I'm sorry I missed all the fun you guys had that night, but thanks for and which one?
The
Yeah, oh, that's right. What was that award?
The Relax
Club.
The Relax
Yeah.
Club, right.
Steam Tank.
The Steam Tank, right. Congratulations to everybody involved. And it was also nice to kind of be there, everybody hanging out, which was something I think we all kind of forgot. So that was kind of cool. And Ms. Hayes, I heard your session was well attended, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I think that was all I had for the president's report. And, Superintendent, Jim, your report?
Sure. So I think the last meeting, the board had asked for an update on our after-school accelerating Spartans program on where we are and how many kids and all that. So let me just give you quick little numbers here. So at the high school, their program doesn't start till December. So I'll be able to give you an update on that once we get rolling on that. The intermediate school currently has about 35 students involved, but starting November 21st, we're upping that program. We'll have up close to 90 students involved at the intermediate school for the second sort of phase, which is more of like a mentoring, advising program, more so than it involves academics, but it's more than just academics. So we did invite more than 30 some odd kids, but 30 kids have been coming regularly to the current phase, but we've invited over close to 90, and we've gotten the RSVPs that will be almost entirely, which is great. So we're excited about that, and that's covering 5th through 8th grade. Wayside has about 40 students in grades 1 through 4. Currently participating. Wanamasa has about 20, and OTES has 30 students in grades 2 through 4, and Wanamasa 2 through 4. So that's what we have going on right now. And then similar to last year, once again, they're in phases. So you have sort of like a fall phase, a winter phase, and a spring phase, and that's where we're at with that. So, and I believe that's all I have.
Probably just one thing to mention. We had an accident in front of the high school the other day, and no kids were hurt, but Rich Kirk, who was our crossing guard there, was hurt, and but we understand he's doing okay now.
According to the OTPD's alert that they put out today, is in stable condition, which is great to hear. And I think all of our thoughts are with him and his family, and very glad he's hopefully on the mend.
And just so you know, when the accident did occur, and Jim told me about what happened with with Rich Kirk, I did call up John Napolitani and told him what happened, and discussed with him. So he was on the alert for that as well, and he was talking with Chief Santino about what was happening. So we've been in constant kind of communication with him on that. But that was it's a very scary situation, and
It was
but
not.
other than car damage, no one.
It was
hurt. Yeah.
Yes, very glad that everything worked out well.
Yeah. And then
So
last,
far,
then last is is this today Halloween?
No, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, the outfit confused me.
I'm just supporting my home team, or my hometown team. Okay,
I know. Well, happy Halloween.
I'm representing.
At some point, I think you're gonna see.
For those who
me
can't
posted,
say-
me being a, I think you'll see me posted with my gi on yesterday, showcasing my green belt in karate, so watch out. And in the dark, it looks like a black belt, so everybody gets a little nervous. So.
I thought it was a white belt, actually.
I have a quick question for the superintendent about the
Sure.
report. How do we stand? I know we're approving some folks tonight for teaching the after-school program, but how do we stand in terms of staffing? Do we still need
Yeah.
a bunch more or a couple more?
Well, we have, so the intermediate school currently has about 5, but that's increasing with who we're approving this evening. Each of the elementary schools has about 5. Part of the high school, why it starts a little later is that, well, there's a couple reasons for it. One that, we kind of like to have it more toward testing season and honestly, sometimes there's so many activities going on at the high school, particularly in the fall, after school activities that a lot of students just don't come
Never
because
make it.
they're just
Okay.
engaged in so many things. So the winter is a little bit different. So I don't have a number of staff at the high school yet, but it'll probably be upwards of close to, I think, around 10 at the middle school total, and then it's 5 at each of the elementary schools. So, that's been, and we, of course, and I think we have subs in all of those areas. And, we at the elementaries, we target those students most academically in need based on, test scores and teacher recommendations, things like that. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Truba, do you have anything you want to have on you?
Yeah, I do, but we could talk about it as we go further down. One's the budget calendar for 23 and 24, and we did wind up meeting with the architects and the facilities team on 163 Monmouth Road, and we were talking about that under construction.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Okay, so why don't we go to public comment? All motions posted on the district website. At this point in the meeting, we will now conduct the first of 2 public comment sessions. The first session will be for public comments on agenda items only. The second session will be at the end of the meeting. It can be on any topic. Would anyone from the public like to make a comment on any agenda item at this time? Anybody here? No? Ms. Conway, anybody on the remotely like to make a comment?
No, President Weinstein, there are no commenters.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Conway. Irene, could you do approval of minutes?
Certainly move to approve the meeting minutes in accordance with Board of Education bylaw 0168, recording of board meetings from our work meeting and executive session minutes, October 18, 2022. And move to approve the meeting minutes in accordance with Board of Ed bylaw 0168, recording of board meetings from our regular meeting on October 18, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
Any other comments, questions?
Questions, comments?
John is ready to ask a question.
New member question. Am I missing the minutes? Is it, oh, it's there in the link.
It's 7.1.
Yep, thank you.
Do you have it, John?
Okay. Okay, cool. Can we just have a,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Natalie, can you do financial management and resource services?
Sure, we have 1 item for approval and 4 for discussion. 8.1, move to approve the use of facilities as per the attached memo dated 11/1/22. 8.2, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss the 23-24 budget calendar as attached. 8.3, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss the Transportation Cooperative with MOESC as lead agency utilizing E&B Transportation LLC, Jay's Bus Service, Seashore, and Semontov for the 22-23 non-public and special education school routes as listed below. 8.4, Board of Education and Administration will discuss a transportation jointure agreement with Deal Board of Education. The Township of Ocean Board of Education will act as host as per the below. And 8.5, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss entering into a contract with New Jersey School Boards Association to provide the superintendent search service based on the quote and terms specified under the $7,000 program per the attached matrix. May I have a second on 8.1?
Second.
Tina?
Any questions on?
I have a question about
Yep.
Camp Max, the summer, they're paying or they're requesting just our athletic field.
Only the outside at Wayside and no use of indoor facilities at all.
So if it's inclement weather,
They're not gonna have
they
to.
won't be there. Thank you.
John?
I have a couple questions around 8.3. I just want to confirm, by law, we're required to pay for busing to private school for students that live within our district. That's correct? And then I just haven't added this up. Do you know what the total expense is for this?
It's pretty large.
Steep.
I could total it up and give it to you. I look at each contract, so I'll total it and send it to you.
You don't have to do that.
No, it'll take me 2 minutes because I have it in Excel.
Have we received an estimate of what this is gonna be with potential expansion of the Hillel School?
Part of the
Are they giving
issue,
us like any kind of like, this is what we expect with,
well,
because I would assume this is something, I mean, this looks like there's like close to, I think that just by looking at the $40,000 columns, we're seeing almost $500,000 here.
yeah,
Right, and
without
so-
our aid and lieu. We also pay aid and lieu. So for the routes that I can't bid out, we have to pay each parent $1,022 a year. And that has been going up about 27% each year, which is showing the enrollment increase.
So
Some of the routes, that's why we use MOESC, because they bid out to multiple
Yeah, and that's great.
transportation providers, so we utilize them to help us out. But like this one individual, like NPHG8, it's only one student. That's because other students in different districts are probably on that route. If I only have 2 or 3 kids that are getting picked up to certain routes on certain times, they'll come back and say that they couldn't bid it out, and then I have to offer aid and lieu.
but
I just am curious about what we should, I mean, and this question doesn't need to be answered right now, but I want it to be on everybody's radar. I would assume that like with an expansion of that school that's expected, that we could potentially look at this cost doubling to a district
100%.
that's losing
100%.
budget.
It went up
funding.
15% this year. I do know that.
And just to piggyback on what John was saying, isn't that school doubling its admissions? So, and they just haven't built that enough yet, so doubling or more than doubling is probably possible.
And can I piggyback as well?
Sure. Yeah.
Big thing to
We
consider.
can't just aid and lieu everybody and not offer a bus.
If a route gets picked up, you have to provide the route.
Siemens will always pick up.
And that's every school, right? That's not just.
Absolutely.
Yes.
These are the ones with them. Actually, I have to say, the transportation department this year did a really good job. We brought back 3 of these routes that wound up saving us almost $200,000. But the routes themselves have gone up quite, tremendously due to the transportation costs, the fuel, the gas. So if we didn't do that, this would be over $200,000 higher. So we're trying to bring back as much as we can. The problem is I can't get drivers. So we're pulling another, we're going to try to advertise at the DMV, right? We're trying, because they have television, so we're trying to get our school site on there that we're looking. And I'm also looking at potentially running an ad in New Jersey 12. Because that's how
Interesting.
Jackson got a lot of people.
Wow.
So if we don't have the staff, there's no consideration from the state, like, do they give you a pass, or there's no, like, if you don't have staff, too bad. We have
Too bad, I gotta
to
people.
find somebody, whether
If
it's
I can't do it, I
teachers
gotta
that have
I have to provide
license
transportation.
or whatever.
A lot of the routes here, they're considered, they consider them dangerous because there's no sidewalks, you gotta
Yeah.
cross over 35. Now, we can look at next year, we do courtesy bus to some areas. I mean, if we have a significant driver shortage, I might have to consolidate some of the routes, but I will not do that without having a conversation with you first and showing you the recommendations.
Okay, I think we had something about first voting on 8.1. So if we could go through that, and then we could discuss the rest of the items.
Yeah,
Anything else about anything, any
anyone
discussion?
second?
I had a question about.
Somebody did
8.1.
second,
Yes.
yeah. What did you want to say about it?
And so 8.1, we still are putting a caveat that we might change these rates as of the first of the year, right?
Yes.
And did we put on the calendar when the facilities, what are we calling ourselves? What's the committee?
Well,
It's a finance
we have not connected to get it on the calendar. I will commit to doing that this week. We'll sit down and try to come up with a few dates.
And so all these entities know that there is a chance. Okay, so no one's going to
Absolutely.
be surprised. Okay, all right.
Okay, so we want to take a vote on 8.1.
Yeah, unless anybody has any more questions, go ahead.
Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Gilman,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palulis.
Yes.
Ms. Delariva, Ms. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so any more discussion on any of the other topics on 8.2?
Not at 8.2, I'm sorry.
Oh, any of them, 8.2 to 8.5.
Jim, could you tell me where Regional Achievement Academy is located and what's it, like, what is it about? It's the first time I've seen that.
No,
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can't right now. I'm sorry.
Google it.
Wait, how are we?
I will.
Yeah, give it a Google.
I will,
I
I
honestly,
will, I
I'm
will.
not sure. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's a
Wait.
Monmouth Ed service.
Oh,
company.
is it? Is it?
It's part of
Monmouth Ed
Monmouth Ed
Services.
Services in Tinton Falls on Green Grove Road.
But and how does this affect us?
I
Like,
probably should know that being I used to be on their board, but
yeah.
Alright.
I think probably just thought of it in another capacity.
It's on.
So we are just busing these
We are
people,
joining
these
that.
kids for deal. It has nothing to do with our students.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's a way I'm trying to make some.
It's difficult to,
revenue. I
yeah,
gotta hire more people.
okay.
So I have a question. Can somebody discuss the superintendent search provider with choosing the column? Why
I don't
that
feel
column as opposed to the other columns?
There's a majority vote.
We all went through it and that's what we all decided.
Okay.
That's what we did with the-
Okay,
Just to give you context, Jeff, the last time we used a search company, we paid over 9,000.
cool. Okay, anything else we want to discuss here? Anything on the budget calendar you want to discuss?
Budget's gonna be tight this year, I mean, as we know, so we're starting the conversation.
It's an understatement.
Yeah, we're starting the conversation. I am trying to work with our dental and our prescription providers to take a look at that because those rates. are
Trying to
going
sell
up
our
as well.
teeth.
Trying to give away the store.
Try to do that.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess about timeline, with Dr. Stefanowitz leaving in June and a new superintendent. So we're going to be, we're well into the budget process by then. So there's a new superintendent, but they're bound to a budget, right? So how does that play into everything? It's just the same old, same old. If that new person wants something or doesn't want something, they'll just come here and say, ask us, or okay.
Well, one of the things, I mean, that's the key on that is your biggest component of that is gonna be salary. And any.
Sure. But
I mean, I want to ask school boards, what would be the right assumption for that based on the searches that they've been conducting, right? The rest of it, pretty much guidance right now is flat on all other expenditures, if not down. If you don't need it, don't budget for it.
My question is, or my concern is, principals have their wish list and the powers that be here by what, January, February, you guys knocked out what you don't want in their wish list. So what if the new person was like, oh, that would have been a great idea? Or that's an awful idea. Why did we approve that?
That's,
So.
I mean, at the end of the day, we have at the end of the day,
When I got here, there were so many things that were cut out of the budget before I got here. that I just thought would have been great ideas.
Yes.
At the end of the day, Jim's the fiduciary, right? And so he has, he's responsible for making sure he's doing whatever's in the best interest of the district, so.
Well, I think that's just the nature of transition, right? I mean, I think if someone comes in, I
You
think.
might like things or you might not.
If there's if there's room in the budget to grab something, great. If there
Okay.
isn't, then, it's something like that's,
Conversation
right.
amongst everybody and,
but, I mean, we have a strategic plan. We did that purposefully. And what we budget for is towards, satisfying the goals of the strategic plan. So.
Mhm. Are there any other questions anybody has? Yep.
Just as a point of information, it's $400,000, not $500,000 that we're spending to bus students in district.
Yeah,
Are you
that's just through MOESC. That's for the non-public and the couple of special education routes that we have.
Oh, mathematician down there.
Anything else any other discussion points on around the eights?
No.
No? Okay. We're gonna move on to instruction, education, student activities. Irene,
Certainly.
thanks.
Weinstein, we have 5 items for approval this evening, beginning with 9.1, move to approve the AP curriculum for the 2022-2023 school year in accordance with the attached memorandum dated October 19th, 2022, and attached curriculum guides as listed below. 9.2, move to approve the following class trip: high school social studies students, the Holocaust and modern genocide course students going to Washington DC for history studies. And the cost is $0, covered by Kane University as part of their partnership agreement with our district. 9.3, move to approve the request of a Monmouth University student to fulfill her clinical practice requirements in accordance with the attached memorandum dated October 27, 2022. 9.4, move to approve the request of an employee, college, university student to fulfill her program requirements in accordance with the attached memorandum dated October 27, 2022. And 9.5, move to approve the attached memorandum dated October 27, 2022 regarding staff professional development activities in accordance with District Policy 6471 and NJAC 6A:23A-7. The attendance at said activities is fiscally prudent and will promote the delivery of instruction and/or further the efficient operation of the district. Reimbursement for travel and related expenses shall be according to the Department of the Treasury guidelines in NJOMB Circular 06-02 and 8-87. May I have a second?
Second.
Anybody have any questions on any of this? Alex, yep.
For the class trip on September, I think it was the 13th meeting, that's when we approved the agreement with Kane University. And it said they give us like $3,000, but the agreement actually says we have to book the bus and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to confirm that, you know,
Yeah,
there's no other
well,
ones.
what happens is we book it and we pay for it, but then Kane pays us. So we use that money to pay for the bus.
Okay,
So ultimately, there's no cost to our district.
it's an even $3,000. Okay,
We incur no cost as far as transportation.
Great. okay.
Any other questions anybody has?
Just real quick, I know there was a question about why the AP curriculum is up for approval tonight compared to, discussion. The AP curriculum, all of our AP curricula are pretty much prescribed by College Board, and they got us these changes a little bit late in the game. We're 2 months into the school year. Ms. Weldon was just hoping we could just get it approved and since we're already into the school year, but if the board would prefer to wait until the next meeting, that's fine, but we're hoping we could get it passed tonight if we can. But if you'd like more time to review it, we can wait a couple weeks to do it.
Well,
It's up to you.
So Jim, they're teaching that AP curriculum.
Yeah, they're
now,
teaching it now.
And it's from the College Board, and
Correct.
so that material will be there in the spring. Why would we wait?
He's just
I'm
telling
just
us we have
The
the option.
question came up, so I'm saying you have an option. It's not, yes, we'd like to approve it. That's why it's there, but if there was a consensus of the board that felt they wanted to wait because they wanted to review it longer.
I'll get to it.
I only brought it up, but that
Is there
that
no-
answer is sufficient. That's
everybody okay
all
with-
we needed to know. I needed
Is
to
there
know.
Discussion? Yes, Shwanda, you okay with voting on it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, yes, John.
So just to respond to that, not to respond to that, I have a comment and question. My comment is, there seems to be a narrative in certain circles that we're teaching history in our schools that is teaching children to hate this country. And I would encourage people to look at that AP US history curriculum, because it is not doing that. And if there is a curriculum that could potentially introduce controversial concepts to an age, a college curriculum, I would argue, is that. And I think that after reviewing that curriculum in its entirety, I think it's an awesome curriculum. And I'm glad that this is the type of stuff that we're teaching these students. And most of it, and I'm just saying this as a comment, right? So just want to reiterate, it's teaching our students to form their own conclusions. And I think that creating critical thinkers is what we need most, and it's an awesome thing. And if there are things that are being introduced in classrooms that are controversial, it is likely being introduced by students who have formed their own opinions, which is thus helping other students form their own opinions either for or against that. So I just wanted to add that comment. My question is, CJCEE, what does that curriculum stand, that acronym stand for?
That's the Central Jersey Consortium for Excellence in Equity.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion? No. Okay, I think, Ms. Truber, I think we can vote on it.
Ms. Beal,
Yes to 9.1, 9.3, 9.4, and 9.5. 9.2, I need to recuse for personal reasons.
Ms. Gilman,
Yes.
Says,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palanis,
Yes.
Ms. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes to all except 9.3, I'll recuse myself from that one.
Okay.
Okay, personnel, Ms. Paranis.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move items 10.1 through 10.14. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Truba?
Okay. Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Gilman,
Yes.
Says,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palanis.
Yes.
Ms. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes.
So quiet.
Okay, planning and construction,
Yes.
Bob the Builder, here we go.
So myself, Mr. Paralamas, and Ms. Tellerico met with Frank from Solutions and oh gosh, what's his name? Ms. Truba and Keith
Keith.
from,
Engineer.
yes, our engineer. And as you guys see in the executive comment content, there is a map of what they've been able to figure out, Keith's been able to figure out of how many lots we could get in the back. Or in the whole property, if we were to subdivide based on what the town looks for, what we would do. You'll see that there's 18, however, 5 of them probably would not be buildable based on needing catch basins and you know, different things like that. In having the conversation, knowing that the temperature was probably going to be to go out for a price for this. We thought it would be a market assessment. We thought that instead of doing that twice, that the secondary thing that we've also talked about, which is moving facilities, moving transportation over here and all that, is to figure out how much of the land we would need for that in the front, and then how many lots we would get in the back based on if we moved everything here, if we moved transportation over here, if we moved, redid, whether the building comes down or doesn't come down, just how much space we would need in the front for our operation and how much space, then how many lots would it leave us in the back? So we've asked them to do that and then go out for a market. We're going to talk about going out for a market assessment for both of those so that we have all of the information to make an informed decision, because
What are the two
ahead.
options?
well, I mean,
I'm not
there's
following this.
there's many.
Yeah,
options,
that's
but the
why I was
thing
like,
is
what?
that This plan that's here shows that we would say, okay, somebody come and buy the entire land.
Okay.
Okay, the secondary plan that, because we've had preliminary conversations about possibly bringing the buses here, bringing transportation over here, bringing Tina's entire operation to this plot of land,
Mhm.
to say, okay, you only need the first, I mean, it's not gonna be 500, but right, like the first 500 feet is all you need for that. Let's sell the other 7 million feet. So,
Okay.
so they're figuring out what it would be, how much space you would need for that, how much space it would leave in the back, and how many lots from that space. So is that only 3 lots? Is that 7 lots? Is that 12 lots? What is it? So before we went out for a market assessment on this, we figured we should have that information first. So when we were in the committee, the 3 of us agreed that there was really no reason for Frank to come speak tonight to say exactly what I just said. Once we have both, plots or whatever, and we can decide if we want him to come then, or if we want him to come after we do market assessment, when we want him to come. But that's where the committee was.
And just to be clear, it's about keeping this facility and what it would take to move everything else, right? That was,
It's not even just about that. It's that if either we kept this facility or we tore this facility down and put a building here,
I see.
and also was able to get, like how much space would we need for one of those 2 scenarios?
I
If we
see.
took off so
Oh, so,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, so sorry to interrupt. So both of those scenarios does not include dismantling, knocking down this building.
well, I think that he's big correct,
We
but I
could.
think we could, or we don't have to, so it's.
So that's almost like 4 scenarios then, really, because if you have 2 scenarios with or without the building.
Pretty much.
I mean, don't we have to also decide, besides those two scenarios, are we keeping the building or not?
Right.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I think too, one of the things that Mrs. Perlamus has brought up as well is how expensive it will also be to get rid of this building. The load and the heaviness of also removing.
It's not knocking it down, it's removing the rubble.
Well, we wouldn't do that.
No, but the
Well, if you
expense,
wanted,
if you're
I
knocking
mean-
down and keeping the front building,
But-
well, yes,
Yeah,
Alex,
you have
you would
to
not.
I mean, don't we just push a button and then the company comes in and,
Floor opens.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
It's like Hogwarts.
Well, I mean,
So nice. Yeah, but so
Okay.
there's many,
It's not-
so
it's
the
not that
point
big
is
of a-
that without getting, that secondary thing to go out with one for a market assessment, that maybe we're then gonna be like, well, let's, because there has been quite a bit of talk of getting Tina's entire operation.
Yeah, good, good. Think to think through this,
Mrs. Porterella.
Yep.
I have a question. What's the premise for moving the bus this year?
Oh, sure, it's really not optimal, and neither is the garage.
Okay.
So if I was able to do it all here, I could set that all up and hopefully create some type of bubble that I could put the vehicles in, because right now, outside in the element, they're not staying as good as we need them to.
Be able to.
Yeah, especially the
protect them,
maintenance
plus, yeah.
vehicles that you could drive a lot
Okay.
longer.
because currently they're all at the high school.
The buses
yard
are
is at
high
the-
school, but the maintenance vehicles
Outside.
are all here. So I have two garages that really aren't optimal for either.
And the garage that fixes the buses actually can't fit a bus in it.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
told us you.
So
can't
so
pull
there's
all
a
the way
couple of
in.
things that are,
Can't move around.
How do you do the repair?
so it's a thought of possibly
Yeah.
figuring out.
and we've been struggling with that whole concept for years, trying to figure out where to put these buses. So it was just a suggestion
makes sense.
that, we
And
thought
we
we'd
also
look into.
talked on this
Give
plan,
you a
and
timeline of when
Yeah.
it's going to.
they said, well, we were trying to figure out.
They needed several weeks, they said. I
Several
still don't,
weeks.
yeah, I still do not have the engineer's cost to do the second plans. I did talk to Tom today, and he said he was circling back with Frank to get it. I don't think they're gonna have anything.
I
for
didn't
the
think it
15th.
sounded like.
I don't think they're gonna have anything for the
I
15th.
thought it was gonna be quick, but.
Yeah, I thought they couldn't get here now, but possibly 15th is what I
They're
thought.
shooting
Okay.
for it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Tom has some personal issues going on.
No, I know.
Yes, Ms. Hayes.
Did they also talk about the costs for fixing this building? It's millions, right?
It's
Is
up
it
there.
3? Is it 5?
Well,
I think it's
what
not
we
millions.
really are asking them to come up with is, depending upon the size, because even if you kept here and you did the garage, and that's gonna be a big capital outlay, but if you could sell the back portion of the property, because there's 11 acres, you might be able to offset that cost. Now, initially, when I was talking to Frank about bringing this building ADA compliance and upgrading the switches inside of it and, the boilers, he was saying, upwards of $500,000.
Yeah, but it wasn't millions.
No, say $500,000.
Including the fire escapes? I
Well, that
I thought you
has to
said
be
2 million at
packaged.
one point.
I think it's $500,000.
I thought you said 2 million.
No.
So I just don't know why we haven't proceeded on, are we keeping the building or not? Isn't that like a huge obstacle in this? I mean, isn't that a board goal? Like, what are we doing with this building? Not necessarily the property, the 163 Monmouth. Don't we have to decide, are we keeping this building or not before we even proceed? Does,
Well, I don't think, I mean, right, I think everything's kind of intertwined here, right? What the cost of to not have this building and to go someplace else. And what the selling this area would mean to us and what that would mean. So I think everything's kind of intertwined here. I don't think we just get the number, sell the building, and then say, okay, let's see what happens.
no, I'm not see what, that's not what I'm saying. Not let's see what's happened. It's like, I don't know. I thought part of all of this was, never mind.
So the main part, so just to be clear, the main part of what they were going through was that we got our first estimate, which gave us an estimate of $3 million, right? And we said we needed to really have that be further looked at. and have somebody come in and break out the property to see how many homes could be built and what that would mean. So that's what Amy and the team has done. Now, what they came to the conclusion was that maybe one option might be to keep part of this land to have our administrative buildings here. So I think that that's reasonable. I mean, it sounds like a reasonable step.
You're saying land.
The other part is that I'm pretty confident that when we get through this process, that in order for us to have an educated discussion about whether we would sell this either by whole or by part, is we would have to also figure out where our administrative offices would be and what that financial implication is to us, right? Both short-term and long-term.
And maintenance.
And maintenance, right? So we'd have to figure those things out at the same time.
So, and do we have
What stopped
plans?
us what stopped us the last time, which was 2017, 2018, or something like
there,
that, right?
yeah.
What stopped us the last time was that we could not find a place reasonably for us to go to
For maintenance. mostly.
for maintenance mostly.
And buses.
Maintenance and buses, right? So that kind of put to a halt the idea of us looking to further get an assessment of the building, right? That's how that all transpired. So we had a big discussion about it. And we said, okay, we don't know where we're gonna go. And we were gonna go to Logan Road, right? We were gonna go to other places, right?
Well, Park was
right.
another option,
Right.
right? That,
Right, was 2019? It was 2019, right. And then COVID hit and we said, okay, we gotta take the time out.
So
Yeah.
what's changed to think about it now?
Mhm.
Well, one is that this board has asked we should do this. Also, the valuation of the property, we think has probably gone up. And we're also in a process where, we're really kind of continually figuring out the effects of what to do with an asset that might not be monetized. So I think those are the three things that's kind of going on. Yeah.
So based upon what you said, it sounds like the catalyst was there's nowhere to go. So if we received $50 billion, has that problem been solved or changed?
Well, I don't know about the $50 billion thing, so.
No, I'm just saying, if we received everyone's wish list amount, has that problem been solved, adjusted? Has Ocean Township
think when we-
grown and
Yeah, I'm
is
not,
there new land? Like,
yeah,
how is that
well,
solved?
there were other considerations to do this, which was that one of the considerations was back at that time was we would, the administrative offices might move to the middle school, right? Because it was open space, there was open facilities there. So we went through all those things. I think back when we were doing this the last time, and I really wasn't in charge, so you might have to speak about this, is that whatever we got as an estimate was not,
It didn't seem,
It
it didn't
didn't-
seem.
it
We
didn't-
didn't look at subdividing it last time.
we didn't
We're
look
looking at all
something.
or nothing. That's what's
Yeah.
changed. Is the consideration of having this done to see that there's 18 different plots that we could potentially keep some and sell some. That was not something we looked at last time.
Correct.
Last time we looked at all or nothing.
And we also can't ignore the fact that the price, the value of land and
The
pricing.
$3 million
has gone-
wasn't
Was
gonna
right.
pay
We
for.
really got stuck on the fact that we had meetings with the town.
Yes, we
They
did it down on a lot of
promised
roads.
us The Sun, Moon, and Stars, that fell apart. They would not allow us to use the test site property to house maintenance, and then COVID.
Right. And then in our meetings here, somebody brought up the idea, say, okay, what are we gonna do with the property? And we all kind of voted to say, let's figure out what we're gonna do with it. And that's how we got into this
No, I get
process.
that. I guess the part that's not clear to me is, even if every duck fell in a row, it seems like where are we, I'll just use that hypothetical, where
Has not
are
been
we
figured out.
going? Was the reason why, COVID, I get all of that, but where are we going? There was not an answer to that, so it stopped. So to do all of this again,
Mhm.
has that answer, have suggestions been provided for that? Because if not, it sounds like a complete waste of time.
But we haven't looked into what the options are today as opposed to back then. So
Okay.
it's difficult to know what the real options are right now.
But
Right,
I will
so-
say also, like, that's why, for me, leaning towards selling off a portion versus all and moving all of our operation here sounds much better to me than saying come get all 18 lots. You know, I think, and I don't have a say on the building or not the building, because again, if it costs us $400,000 to, you know, upgrade this building, but it costs 200, or I have no idea how much removal costs, but I know it's very expensive. So I don't know if that's gonna cost 150,000 and then putting everything here is gonna cost, you know, what, I don't know what the cost is gonna be. So I think that you know, I personally don't have a feeling either way on the building. I have a feeling either way on selling. I feel that selling the entire property without giving it a good enough thought on moving our Tina's operation here, that is where I fall.
John,
What in like considering all of the things that I would prioritize above this, I just want to ask so that I can be a devil's advocate for myself. What are the risks of us doing nothing to change this facility and not proceeding down this path? What risks are we putting the district at, or the administration or the town?
If we don't have, I mean, fire escapes, like, if you do the minimal, you do nothing, but you do something, like, the fire escapes regardless have to be done. So I think part of it is, you know, well, if we put 52,000 or whatever, it's like $52,000 for fire escapes. Like, do we want to put $52,000 in a building that we're ultimately not going to keep? You know, and so I think it's trying to get the decision so that we know what upgrades are absolutely needed in order to be here, if that's what the decision, like, if that's what we think is feasible.
yeah, I think that, right, so the risk might be the pragmatic sunken cost to get us into something that, you know, 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, we may have lost, right? But that's probably de minimis in the whole scope of this. So there's no like when you mean risk, like what do you mean by risk?
Like any litigative risk,
No.
any opportunity lost that we could have had?
The only opportunity
Aside
lost
from the
is,
sale of the property and the revenue that would generate, the one-time revenue that would generate out of it.
right. The one thing that may come up, which I'm not sure how it goes, is I know they're changing some of the funding of construction and how school districts get funding for construction. One of the things that we have here is an asset that probably has a high value, which, you know, at some point, the state might want us to either monetize or just realize we're not gonna get funding as the level we want for additional projects, because we have an asset that we're not doing anything with.
So in layman's terms, the state might say, wait, Ocean, you're asking us for more money, but you're sitting on land that's worth X, Y, Z. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
I
you have an
think-
asset that's worth X, Y,
I
Z,
think,
and they might say, okay, make some choices.
Mhm.
Right. So, and then I guess the other part, look, we got here when we first started talking about this was because, you know, of the height of the real estate market, right? So I don't know what's changed or what hasn't changed.
So just to confirm, so it's, if we did the bare minimum, we did absolutely nothing, we prioritized like budget increases for salaries for supervisors or teachers, or we prioritized spending elsewhere. The costs that we know we could assume right now is $52,000. And we're assuming that there's a potential we would lose funding from the state in the future based on this asset. We don't
Not
know.
lose funding, not funding be available. to
We
us.
don't know, we don't, but that's
That is a hypothesis.
yeah, we don't know that that's the case.
100%.
Okay,
wait, but this building still isn't ADA compliant, so it's not just $52,000.
Oh, no.
And are we
but-
getting like this,
No, but I think what John was saying too, I don't know what it takes to bring it up to,
Like-
It's a lot of money.
okay.
It's a lot of money.
yeah, so it's not just like if we do nothing, it'll cost us
Significant
52.
plumbing Concerns here, because the
Yeah,
pipes will.
It's gotta be air issues.
Yeah, there's a lot. of
have we been told, are we opening ourselves up to risk by not being ADA compliant, either through a litigative?
I have not heard that at all.
It's just a desire of ours to make this building ADA compliant, which I'm
Yes.
not saying is a bad desire. I'm just saying that, like, I think that I personally believe that some of the people of this town would understand if we prioritize the salary for better teachers or supervisors or others funding over making this building ADA compliant when we've done I'm under the impression that the administration makes every effort necessary to support someone who has a restriction entering the building. So,
Yeah, it's just not a user-friendly building, right? I mean, if you come up here and you're in a wheelchair and or on crutches, this is not a user-friendly place to visit.
I have a
So-
question for Tina.
Yep.
Aren't we talking about two different funds, though? I mean, what you're saying, John, of course, but salaries are under a completely different umbrella than capital projects. So as much as we would like to steal from this one to fund that one, we do budget so much money for capital projects separate from salary increases.
But doesn't it all contribute to what we need to be under our 2% cap for?
And I
Yeah.
think
Yes.
that,
Together.
and,
Yes.
and we've also said, I mean, if we got $80 billion for this, right? All 80 billion doesn't have to go back into capital projects. You
Right.
can put it, so, I mean, there is money to possibly be made to go into other funds to
Should we?
help, you know,
Right.
but that's if you even break even on the whole thing. So it's, there,
And it does seem, I just want to point out, it does seem like do some of the options that would maintain this building and do other things could potentially send us down a route where we're going to be spending a lot of money. That's like another thing in my, like, we were to move a maintenance facility here, which I would love to do. I would assume that that's going to put us in a position where we're now struggling to remain under a 2% budget increase cap as we're losing budget from the state for the next 5 years. I think all of these questions have led me to the belief that, like, I understand everybody's desire because this has been a burning issue in the back of everyone's minds for so long to deal with this, and I respect that. But I think that looking at the situation that we're in right now with funding decreasing over the next few years and no solution to that in sight from our legislative support, because the curriculum, the bill to investigate the S2 funding is basically dying in the assembly right now. It's not even moving forward at all. And so now, I think that personally, and I don't think anybody on this board wants to hear this, we need to kick this can down the road. I don't believe that it's smart for us to, I think the decision needs to be that, yes, this is something we want to change, but we have 80 other things that need to get fixed in this district before we can do this. And we obtain a $52,000 cost, and then we can look in the future at what minimal costs we can obtain to make this building ADA compliant.
Yeah, so just to that point, so we all voted that we wanted to go down this path.
I voted against that,
Right.
but for the record,
And so-
yes, the majority
Right, I
did say.
understand, right. And so we needed to, part of our thing was to find out what the numbers were and be able to make an educated decision, right? And what was the number you used?
80 billion.
50
10
billion?
billion.
100 billion.
100 billion. So I'm assuming that this isn't worth 100 billion, but we're assuming that it also is worth more than the 3 million that was quoted to us.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to find out what that real number is. And then that way we can have some kind of educated
And when will we
choice
have
and be
that
able
number?
to weigh the pros and cons on the expenses and the move and the headache.
Well, the
and-
numbers we won't have for a little bit because we need the secondary plan to get the
Correct.
numbers.
Right.
So I would say, probably beginning of the year, we're gonna have the numbers. I don't think we're gonna have them before that. Well, if we have this December, you think, I don't know how long it takes somebody to do a market. I have no idea how long it takes someone to do
I
a
think
market
it was
assessment.
46 weeks last time. So it's-
Yeah.
Didn't some realtors give us market analysis though?
It's a market assessment, as Amy said, of selling the whole thing. Then when we were talking to the evaluator, he said, if you could show us engineering plans that could subdivide this, I can give you better assessments. And that's why we went down the
Okay.
path of spending the money with the engineer, because now we have a plan that shows how many custom-built homes you could put on the
Mhm.
lots.
And I also think I'm sorry, Al.
No, go ahead.
And doing the secondary plan, I mean, I think that stopping right here, John, is not the place to stop. I think that doing the secondary plan to see if you move maintenance and everything over here and you subdivide it, then you have clear-cut answers for, you have this plan's probably not gonna change. So in 5 years, if we come back to this, you can say, here's the two plans, can you give me the market assessment now? But those plans are now done, and you have the two
And
ideas.
Amy, you did from the last time, based on some of the blueprints I've seen, the last time maintenance was thought about. And what was determined was potentially the intermediate school could be where maintenance was housed.
Yeah.
You'd leave busing where it was, and you would just need to find a room for the 26 people that are in this building.
Then there was wetlands.
It was
issues there.
wetlands,
yeah.
So that was why it came
It's-
back.
Shalonda, did you ever hear that?
Sorry.
So we will have numbers by the January 3rd meeting.
I would not say the
No,
January.
we
I don't
don't
know. That's not based on us.
Wait,
That's
We don't
based
even
on,
know when Keith is gonna have this.
right.
I just
Proposal.
reached
I
out to
can't put
them.
a-
I'm
I can't
hoping
put a
the
date on
15th,
that.
but
I mean, as much as I would like to say yes, it won't be January 3rd anyway, because that's the reorg meeting. We don't do any business at that meeting. But I can't say that you'll have an answer. I would like to say we'll have an answer in January, but if Keith gets it back to us in 6 weeks and then someone else needs 6 weeks, plus you put the holidays in there, I don't know that it would be back
Yeah, I would
before.
think-
So
I would think
Keith
it's
is the
probably February.
person who will help us move forward.
Keith is the person who's gonna give us the secondary plan. This is the first plan. He'll give us another plan that'll show how it would be subdivided. Then from there, we go to somebody else to do the market assessment. So I don't know that
So we
person's
will not
timeline.
discuss this again until Keith gives
Wait.
us the secondary
Yeah.
plans.
correct.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
great. Yep.
I still don't think we're getting all the numbers though. So we're not getting numbers, like, can we get everything on a chart or something like that's easy to understand? Like, knocking down this building will cost this much. These 11 lots will cost this much. I want to know how much it's going to cost because I think it's not as big of a deal to move every 26 person over to the TOIS. But some of you folks have told me, oh, it's going to cost so much. Is it going to cost $5,000? Is it going to cost $26,000? Like, I don't understand why we can't get that info kind of quickly for some of those things. Like, can we get all of that by the time we're doing whatever this new assessment is? Because there's all these ancillaries that are also could potentially cost 100,000, 200,000, whatever. Can we get an infographic that says like, these are the options that we can do, and this is how much every giant thing is gonna cost? I'm kind of perplexed why we can't get that.
Well, it costs
Well-
money to get
We have
all
information
those.
yet.
Yeah.
And it costs
Well-
money to get every one
Yeah,
of
we don't-
those.
Okay, hang on.
We have information. If we know how many desks we are, how many people, I don't understand why we can't call a company to go to TOS.
If we were, first of all, we don't know what our options are and where we would move. Okay, so we'd have to first agree on that. Once we could agree on that, then we could say, okay, here's what it's gonna take to move into that. So,
But why do we have to agree? Why can't we say, can somebody give us how much it's gonna cost to bring these 26 offices to TOS? Tell me how much it's gonna cost to bring 26 offices to the high school, because those are really our only two options. Those are the only two options. So, like, if those are our big expenses.
We do.
Intermediate school.
We definitely have
It was-
plans
it
and I
was-
can ask them to
Yeah.
reassess the costs.
I was off planning construction during that timeframe, but
And it needed a lot of.
there was a lot of retrofitting.
Yeah, we had a retrofit.
And then-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, John.
So where do,
So you, Tina, you just said we need to ask them to reassess the cost. So I just want to confirm. If we keep going down this path, we get all these plans, no matter what, we're gonna need to have somebody, if we wait 5 years, reassess the costs, right?
Right.
So I think that goes back to my initial point. I don't,
Yeah, all these plans.
every
were
single one of them,
pre-COVID.
every plan that we get, even though we make the argument that, oh, well, we have these and they're gonna be good to have in the future, that doesn't seem to be serving us right now,
Can-
from my opinion, you know?
can I point of reference to the road? Can I ask you, if we were to get millions of dollars, whether it's 2 to 8, who knows, for this? What is your argument for not getting millions to then put back into?
Because I have other things I want to prioritize over this plan.
Like
There's
little
time and
things that- okay.
resources from the board and from the district that I think that we need to move past and start to focus on other issues.
So if we're doing a plan of like XYZ, can, like, maybe there should be a counter plan, or that's just
I
everything.
I just don't believe that this is a good use of our resources.
Okay. Natalie, did you have something you want to say?
No.
Let me ask a different question. I'm assuming that Tina, you would be the project manager for this, is that? No, is that?
I would be working with the architects as the project manager.
No, I meant for us, you're the person to,
Should be contact.
you'd be our contact to basically. lay
You
out
are the
the-
project manager.
Right,
You're
to lay out-
managing the
to lay out
costs,
the
you're
scope
yes,
and-
absolutely.
Right. So,
Same way I did the HVAC system in TOA.
yeah, so I don't want to jump because you're on the, you run the construction. I mean, did you feel like what you wanted to do is really did you want to get a lay of the land of what the whole cost structure is for us to go to the middle school?
That to go to the middle school, I think that the question even needs to be asked if that's even an option anymore. and I don't mean based on how much room there is there, but I mean based on, there were like, it was not a well-received option. If I'm correct on all of that, was like,
Well, by whom?
I mean, there was a lot of things and a lot of like.
Well, it would
fifth
take,
grade
it would
might have
take,
had
it
to
would take a
move
lot of, it would take a lot, it would take away a lot of current instructional space that we do utilize.
Right.
However, that doesn't mean, depending on
And it was
other
also moving
factors,
some-
that some of that space couldn't be moved to other parts of the
Yes.
building because of the declining enrollment there.
Can we
so.
look at, can we possibly, I don't even remember what the fifth grade looked like. Can we get just what that plan even looked like? So maybe we can all just like familiarize ourselves with the plan if people want to look at it.
It wasn't the
think it
fifth
was just
grade.
the fifth
It- It
grade.
was, it was
Yeah,
over,
it was
it was,
the-
it was
Yeah,
when
I
you
know,
walk in
I
the
know.
building, it was to the left.
Right, the nurse's office was moving, all sorts of
Uh-huh.
things were happening. But what I'm saying is it didn't disrupt fifth grade at all.
It wasn't the
Mhm.
nurse's office. It's
It wasn't fifth grade.
So it was like, it was
It was the current,
walking
it was
front
the
door
current
to the left,
technology
from
area
there
where
to
the,
the-
where
So you
the,
walk in the main
where there
building
the,
to the left.
so from there to the gym, basically.
yeah, that back
Yeah,
area
about,
that used to be, you know, that's, it's.
The black
there
box
to the
theater,
left.
all that
Black
kind of
box
stuff.
theater,
that's
where all
back
that
there.
is, right?
I think that the secondary, I think that going the way planning construction spoke about getting the secondary plan is something we need before we are gonna do anything. I don't know that finding out costs, to John's point, before we have a thought of even just how much we would get for this land, because once we find out, okay, you can get, and I understand what you're saying, Alex, like if we know we're gonna get $5 million, but moving to the intermediate school, moving maintenance, dropping a building over here and doing all this is gonna cost 7 million, right? So then you're 2 million, you're over 2 million. If you're gonna move everything here, like there are different things. But I think the first thing we need to do is be able to see if we're subdividing and we only get 3 lots, then we know that that's probably not something that's worth doing, So I think that this other plan is not gonna go bad.
What do you mean by other 3 lots? Doesn't,
I'm just
That-
saying, if they say, okay, we need to use 75% of the thing if you're moving everybody here, and you're only gonna have 3 lots in the back, it's not gonna be what's gonna happen. I'm just saying, I think we need to see what the other plan would be to subdivide. Because I think
I thought this was the subdivision plan. I thought this was,
this
here's
is
your
to
13.
subdivide the entire, this is to divide the
Sell
entire thing.
everything.
I'm
This is
talking about-
scenario one.
What would we need to keep out of this?
Sell it all.
So there's 18 lots. Do we
I
need
just
to
don't
keep
get-
11 and we sell 7?
Yeah, I just don't get how we don't have that by now.
Well, we have 18, we need to keep 5 for like drainage. And then there's 3 of them that are on there that we would need to get variances for because they're not 100 by 100. But they're close.
John,
Did they, just in response to that, did they, when they provided this plan, did they give us any kind of indication on whether or not that throughway could be moved?
Through the back.
The road, what I'm seeing is the road that would go in here if we were to keep 7 lots and maintain the building, but sell the ones in the back. Are they telling us that they don't need to run a road right through the center of this building? They have an alternative route that they could utilize?
They were saying they have to-
There are 2 roads back there. And the question was, one of them,
There's
wasn't
2
something with
roads on the side that
wetlands?
aren't even on this plan. There's 2
Yeah.
roads here.
They'd have to connect to one of those 2 roads.
And then there's also, if you look on this plan, there's actually a road, this is showing a road out the back.
So there's not, okay. So there's opportunities
Yeah.
based on this to maintain.
That they wouldn't come through our
Yes.
front.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Do we have thoughts on community input, though?
Why?
We haven't talked about that yet, so. Like, what if 90% of the town wants XYZ? Like, shouldn't we kind of ask for community input too? Because, but I say that also in saying, like, we need to make tough decisions. So I feel like we're just postponing.
Absolutely, but I think
So-
you're gonna get, I think you do need community input, and I think that, I know that's what stopped the board 15, 20 years ago when everybody came out about this building.
Yeah, but we
Now-
can't do that anymore.
Yeah, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Right,
Good,
because at
now,
the end of
yep.
the day, what's our number one problem? Lack of money.
Money.
right?
So if this project is going, and I hear what you're saying about resources too, and time, and I hear what Sean's saying, like, I feel like we keep going in circles. So
Yes, Lord.
we need to make a decision,
Mhm.
but it's, we get so far and then it's like, oh, well, now we need this, now we need this. And I'm not, it's
Yeah, it's
all
not
of us
personal.
as a whole that have gotten
Yes.
us here. And I think we need all of the information in order to make a decision. Are we going to net money out of this? If we are, let's keep talking, because then we can solve some of the other problems with that money. If we're not, then we're done. But we don't know if we can't move 26 people to the other schools, we're dead in the water. So we should be finding that information out simultaneously.
Right now, yeah.
To this, one doesn't beget the other, we should be getting it all at the same time. Including the possibility of, are there other places in the town where we can put people?
So, once you start going down the road, trying to look for places, that takes a lot of coordination, a lot of effort, right? Which I think what Amy was based, what we were doing on the getting these,
Look, if you
getting
don't wanna do that,
evaluations
then-
is the first.
Yeah, if we're saying we don't want to go elsewhere, we want to keep it here, then let's say that, and that's off the table, so we stop talking about it. We're doing a lot of like,
What
if,
ifs,
if,
yes.
without actually making any decision. So that's-
Well, being in this conversation for a while, that's where I truthfully think that the way to do this, if we do anything, is to keep the front half and sell the back half. Which is, because I think that that's where you get the money to do some of the work or do the work and all of that. I don't know that, but I mean, that's just, because I don't have faith there's a place in this town that is going to be given to us or anything
Huge
for that.
problem.
And I
Land
also
is very
don't
s-
think
Very scarce.
Yeah.
For the bus depot, you mean?
for anything,
For any.
Yeah.
for a maintenance
developed.
truck,
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
you know? So I think, and
So then-
part of it too is the thought that, well, if we have a bus yard, that we can also bring, contract out other towns and stuff to come here, and our mechanics used to fix, we've had bus mechanics fix West
Long
Long Branch,
Branch.
all these places for years. You could get revenue in there from that, so there's things like that are, I don't think that we're gonna build what Mr. Leverson came one time with Long Branch, that was like this gorgeous facility, yes.
Like a transportation
You know,
hub. or-
yeah, like I don't think we're gonna have
Solar panels.
Yeah, all of it.
So how do we get this moving?
Let's listen to kind of coalesce this thing. So I'm perfectly okay with having Amy go through the process and having the next amount. I think it's reasonable for Jim and Tina to look at the current plans that we have for the middle school and resurface them and give us their evaluation and their cost estimate on it. I don't think it would make, and the feasibility, I don't think it makes sense for us to, at this point, start looking for other facilities until we find out the information from, that these people, that we're gonna get from the assessments. So that would be,
I
my
agree.
thing would be to figure out that call, understand, and resurface that to see what the feasibility is, appreciate the cost. Have Amy's plan go forward with the second iteration. Once we get that and we say to ourselves, okay, this is what we're looking for, we get an estimate of what somebody gives us as an assessment. And then we have this cost. If it turns out that this number for the assessment is some number that allows us to say to ourselves, let's figure out where else to go, then we can make that decision. If it turns out that that estimate doesn't float anybody's boat, then we don't do anything, right? I mean,
Agreed. So are we gonna put like a timeline? Can we
We
if
can't put a
if we're
timeline.
dependent on other, no, for the gym and
yeah, well,
Tina
Why
part,
don't you tell us, why don't you just tell us when you can do
like
something like
6
that?
weeks to tell us if we can move.
Plans are done. I don't know the construction costs, so I need to work with our architects.
Yeah, the last
to
time
get
those
that.
plans were done were years ago.
Was
so,
before COVID.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
they're
Construction
old,
costs.
and you know what's happened with cost structure.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I might be able to say, look, this is gonna be 40% increment, and I'll be able to give that to
Mhm.
you 15,
okay, so,
you know what I mean?
so.
Could be
we
that
can
easy.
research
This
it.
was the plan.
It
and
could
this
be
is
that
the
easy.
cost was
That's right.
5 years ago.
That's
It could be that easy.
Yes, and then that's what I'm saying, let me try to.
Yes.
talk to Tom. I have a meeting with him on Thursday and we'll go
Okay.
through that.
Okay, good, okay.
And demolition costs.
By the way, is that okay with everybody to go through that process? Good, okay, all right. Okay, thanks, Amy. And who else is on there with you?
Grace
Denise
Ann
and
and
Grace Ann. Denise and Grace Ann, great, thanks. Okay, policy, so Grace Ann's not here, so John or Irene, whichever one of you want to.
Oh, wow, I think it's my first time.
I think it is. I do.
All right, presentation policies and bylaws. 12.1. Board of Education Administration will discuss the first reading of revised or new policies, bylaws as follows.
Good job.
You don't have to read
We want you to.
Pressure, right? You're like performance anxiety. I
We
know.
need you to click on each thing and read the entire
Oh
policy.
my gosh.
It's so stressful,
I
right?
haven't had a chance to read them yet. Is there-
Shawana
is
might
there any-
tackle you
is there
down.
any- Are there some here that you feel like need, or Irene?
I need to yield to Irene for that because I was not present at the meeting where we had, I was present for submitting all of my recommended changes, but
Well, Tina, I think you did an excellent job of taking notes
Right.
of what we discussed in that general Zoom meeting and
So if you look at the notes section, it
Right.
tells you whether, like, if it's blank, there was no change. We just looked at it and we're accepting it as is. So, this is getting back to wanting to have a review of everything and having a date as to when the board last reviewed it. The first two are changes to the bylaws and we're accepting what Strauss staff may put in. Keep on going down. The one I would look at is the new mandatory one. That's bylaws, policies. It has the M next to it because that's new. There are certain ones that are new to the district that I would definitely take a look at for first reading. So that you understand them. But this is the first reading and then on the 15th, we would move to approve.
Okay.
And then we
Now-
had like 7 more that we still had to get to,
I think
right?
so.
Irene? I think it's like 7. So we're gonna continue to refresh the bylaws probably in December and keep on moving forward to review everything.
Okay, I don't want to speak for everybody. Is it, did people read these and have some comments on any of them that you already read?
just the website.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to do something either to update it or to continue to work on it. That's policy 0157.
Yeah, so it basically says that the network manager is responsible for posting everything, but it needs to be approved by the superintendent of schools. If the superintendent feels that that content should not go onto the website, he has the right, or she has the right to say no. And literally, there's like a list of things that would say, these are the types of activities or things that we would post on
Yes.
our website.
That list is
Yes.
here. Very good.
I had a question about the videotaping, the recording of board meetings. I mean, it says in here that we could destroy the videotape of meetings 60 days after, which, I mean, I hope we would never do, but also we're posting on YouTube. So I don't know if there should be any language in there about, like, we have a YouTube channel where this stuff all goes.
When I talked to Strauss about it, they said that gives you the option. It doesn't mean that you have to do it.
Okay.
They didn't recommend removing it.
I don't think we ever have, right?
No,
There's years.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's in there.
right, we post everything on board docs too.
Any other comments that people have about any of the policies? And you guys we have 2 weeks to read, so, yep.
yeah, I had said, and I shared this in my committee meetings, for the committee meeting that I was unable to attend, but two things that I had pointed out in the bylaws that I thought needed to be reviewed was that there should be language in 0152 that states that you can only vote for a single candidate. It's somewhat like open-ended in there, and it should state that, because otherwise we could find ourselves in an issue with runoff or something like that. And I'm just putting this out there as food for thought. It doesn't have to be countered here. But then 0167, I had said that there should be language in there, because that particularly has to do with stating the address that you live at. I thought that there should be language in there that states whether or not a minor is allowed to address the board for public comment, and if so, whether or not we're going to require them to state their address, because I believe there's laws against that in doing so, and I just think that should be in the bylaws, especially because we're broadcasting our meetings on Zoom now, which is something I think when these bylaws were written is not an issue that we had. And then that's it. Those are the two that I wanted to draw.
Yep,
people's
Alex?
attention to.
I want to echo what John's saying, and they also brought this up in at least 2 sessions at school boards this past week, that we really can't require people to give their address because there could be protective orders, or we shouldn't require people. There could be protective orders, there could be custody issues, there's privacy issues that, so I'm along the same lines. I'm not comfortable saying you must say your address.
So you'd rather just municipality of residence, like just
Mun-
to say I live in
municipality, yeah.
Ocean or?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't feel like we ever go to these, like, I don't need to know where people, like physical address where they actually live. I'm okay with just,
think it's
I'm an Ocean
outdated.
resident.
Yeah, it's
I'm
outdated.
outside
It's
Metro.
outdated.
Yeah.
Any other comments in any meetings?
She will make note of that.
But did we, is that our change or is that Strauss Esme's change?
No, that was my recommended change.
Well, I think what we would do is we probably would bring those
Check with them
changes back with
first.
them. And then
Right,
they
no,
would-
but when you look at the policy, what struck is municipality of residence and address is written there, because that's to go up to our policy, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, but where's,
That's what the policy committee, when they talked, they said that we should be putting that down. If we don't want to do it, we'll take it out.
so we can go back to just municipality of residence. That's what the,
Well, but the municipality is Ocean, so is that broad enough? Did you say I'm an Ocean resident?
and you
That's
don't,
fine with
you don't have to be a resident
Brought it up
either.
is-
the same, yeah, but somebody could say, I'm a West Long Branch resident.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one on voting, John? I
It
apologize.
was just that I thought that there should be language in there that states that you're not allowed to vote for more than one candidate to prevent like tiebreakers and runoffs, and there was no language in there initially.
For president and vice president? we're
Yes,
talking?
yeah.
So the way we've done it here,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was deferring to Denise of how we have done
Okay.
it in the
No.
past.
No one has ever voted for 2 people. Is that what you're asking me? Not that I can
think that's
remember.
Right, and I
But
understand
guess it
that, but
could
that's why it should
happen,
be documented in the bylaws, is that, because if it's not documented there, then somebody could be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for both of them, and
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, it's never
understand that
happened, but
that's.
I guess it could happen.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
do write it that way, and let's say, that you can't vote for 2,
You can only
but let's
vote for a
say there's
single
two,
candidate.
but let's say,
one vote.
Which policy?
yeah, like,
On a particular vote.
On a particular.
Right.
okay, but you're
Yeah.
saying like if we go to,
I believe it's
if we
one
go,
vote.
if 3 people are nominated
Right.
and you get down to 2, then you're gonna vote for somebody
Yeah,
different.
within
that
Okay,
one vote.
Okay, and,
Thank you.
okay, then
And yeah,
yes.
just, I need to point this out as a point of information, that is not here yet, that is one of the 7 that we
I
are,
was gonna say, it's
yeah,
not,
it's not in there yet,
Right.
so I just wanted to point
it's
that out.
not for consideration yet.
Okay, all right. So but the address, municipality, everybody's okay with that. I'll
Okay,
make that change.
great.
So we have to vote, no?
On to
We have
13.
to vote on them, no?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the
First discussion.
On
So we see
13,
discussion.
So it's still
Okay.
allowing us to make changes.
I just saw presentation.
Alex, you can,
Sure. 13.1, Board of Education and Administration will continue to discuss the Board of Ed goals and objectives for the 22-23 school year.
okay, so what I think I would like to do here, so I didn't get any comments back from anybody on this, right? So I mean, I think I got some from you, Shwanda, about some things, right? So what I'd like to do is if we could just look at line by line and agree which ones are in, which ones are out. If there's a line that you feel like a thing you want to have, I think now's the time, because we're on version 3 of this, right? And it's not getting,
Let's get it done.
we need to like condense
A third
this.
of the year.
So if it's okay, I'd like to just go line by line and say, are we in favor of this one or not in favor of this one? We want to remove it, we remove it. If we want to add something else, we can add something else. Shwanda,
The last one is mine. I would like to remove it.
the last one, okay.
Yeah, That
Okay,
one I'd like to
The
remove.
vote to sell one?
Yeah, just let it when it's for.
okay.
How many do we want?
Well, in my checking with Mary Ann, having it be between 5 and 10 is
Okay.
typically normal. It doesn't have to be. But I think if there's something important that people have on their mind, now's the time to say it, to put it in there. If there's something that we really don't want, we can take it out. If you want rewording, we're gonna reword it tonight. All right? Okay,
Go for it.
all right. So first one, sport programs and funding to achieve the district's strategic plan. Now, just remember, Mary Ann said we should have this one in. But if you don't want it in, I'm perfectly comfortable taking it out.
I'm fine with it. Are we just going around?
Yeah, are we-
I kind of feel we're doing it anyway.
Right.
That's why we did a strategic plan.
I
so we could
agree.
Support it and fund it to achieve so why have it there? We're doing it.
I'm with you, Denise.
Mhm, me too.
So I just feel like
Yes
it's,
or no?
It's extraneous.
so I feel it should be removed.
Second.
I agree.
I agree.
Alright.
Why did Mary Ann recommend that we put it in?
Well, she said basically at the end of the day, the board should attach itself to the strategic plan. And the board's
Yeah.
goal should be
Well, we
attached to
did
the
last
strategic plan.
year. Last year, we did a strategic plan. Part of our goals
This-
was to do it. So we did it. So now we just have to,
I'm telling you what Mary Ann said. She said you should.
I feel like
attach
I
yourself
think
to
we
the
were up
strategic
to
plan.
3 no's.
Yes,
Can we
yeah.
Just vote on it.
it's like saying
You want it?
we need to educate kids. We got
All
it.
right, Alex,
No.
you're a no, right?
I'm a no.
I'm a yes.
Yeah.
Is that yes to remove?
No, I think if Mary Ann said it should be in.
Yeah, I think it should be too.
We're
We
ahead
should
of-
follow the school board. So
Okay,
yes.
so I'm a yes.
So it doesn't carry because it doesn't get majority, because there were 4 no's.
Wait, Amy didn't go, did you?
oh, she said
Yeah,
yes.
we're
Oh,
for it.
sorry.
So-
Tiebreaker.
So
Dun,
we should
dun,
vote
dun.
Because you need majority. for
We
it to
need
pass.
Grace Ann to be the tiebreaker, right?
I'm perfectly okay taking it off.
So let's hold this and
Oh, we're gonna carry.
Did you vote
Isn't
then,
it,
Mr.
if it,
President?
is-
Sorry.
Jim, did you want to? Okay, well, we just had the vote, so.
Doesn't matter.
put the
Okay,
vote to
you-
tie.
you- I'm perfectly.
Honestly, I'm indifferent on this one.
I kind of feel the same way, so
Take it out.
Take it
That's
out.
fine.
Okay.
No.
Determine vote on strategy for existing building, land, and our district administrative office with a target date of the March regular board meeting.
I'm
That
a
was
no.
I'd want that date to be sooner,
Are we
but
going
I put the word target date, so that's.
You're a
not
yes, I'm surprised, because I felt like your whole conversation would have made you a no on that.
it's saying that we're gonna vote on it. Right, that we're gonna, I'm reading this as we're gonna make a decision. That's all I care
Yeah.
about. I just want us to.
But target date doesn't mean anything. If
It's
Ken,
not that it-
Kevin,
Well, none of these
Pete,
things are-
whoever he is, if he doesn't have anything until April, this board goal means nothing.
I like your goal better.
It's just modified until April.
Vote
It
to
doesn't mean nothing.
keep it or not.
It's just changed until April.
Yeah, I think it's more of the intent of what we're trying to accomplish right now.
maybe you get rid of the March part.
Oh, we got a time bound. We got a time bound.
Because we didn't time bind it this year and
We could time
it's a
bound it by
goal for
saying,
next
we could time bound it by saying that we want to make a decision within 2 meetings of having all the information. But I don't know how you can time that, like,
Because there's always gonna be someone saying, I want this information or that
Okay.
information. We're never gonna get-
but Shawanda, you're like saying that, I'm not saying that, like, I would love to have everything within 3 weeks and then 2 weeks or whatever, but I'm not saying that I think that these 2 outside companies that are giving us the information are gonna get it to us. I don't know when they're gonna get it to us.
And with that being said, and with every other ancillary, what about this, what about that, what about that, there will always be something. So as far as I'm concerned,
I
this building
guess-
is going to be here until it's not.
All right,
And
but I
I
guess
don't
then,
Think that it should be a goal because there are so many what ifs. It was a goal before, there was nowhere to go. We could get X amount of money. I need more information about this. I need that. My personal vote is no.
Can we go around and get everybody?
Sure, why don't you go first? I mean, what do you want to do?
Yes, keep it in.
yes.
Yes,
Natalie, Alex,
I think I'm a no because we didn't do it this year. So I
John?
think,
Yes.
okay. Shawanda,
No,
Denise,
Kind of back and forth about it, but I guess I'll say yes.
okay, yes, okay, so it stays. Number 3, hire a superintendent with a target start date of July 1, 2023. You want to say
I
something?
want to begin by saying that I think it is the most important board board goal that we have. It is our job, it is our number one job to hire a superintendent. So I believe that it should be there.
Okay, and you comfortable with the start date of July 1, 2023?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was one of the, one of the discussion points. in
Oh,
that one.
okay.
Okay, so you're a yes?
Yes.
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 I'm a no, because I think that's a waste of a bullet.
Natalie?
It's an obvious one.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course, we have to do a
Yes, okay.
superintendent hire.
Start a customer advisory committee.
Customer, community, school, business.
It's been a
I was
long
just
day.
I was at a board meeting for 7 hours and so I was talking about customer stuff. I will start, Natalie,
I'm
yourself?
a no on this one.
Okay.
I
Alan,
mean, yes.
John,
I'm a no.
Shwanda,
No.
No.
yes,
No.
no. Okay, take that off. Support and develop, first of all, is there, because the restaurants are kind of supporting certain things, is there another initiative that somebody would like to have on here that's not stated on
I
here?
would
No.
like COVID to not be on our goals.
Hmm.
I don't want the word on our goals. I just want it.
Why don't we just say, yeah, gaps in learning loss?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
support and continue to develop strategy programs to close gaps in lost learning.
Is anybody comfortable with adding any sort of accountability piece to that? Like,
It's our goal, so
I know, but if you guys are comfortable with putting dates in for other things, this is just a support. Like, why aren't we putting any measurable things on here?
because we're
Like,
really not responsible for delivering that result. We're gonna have to ask Jim for that result. So we can say to Jim, Dr. Stankiewicz.
Yeah.
Sorry, getting into front of here. We can say to Jim in one of our board, we say, Jim, we really like to understand what you're doing to help the learning, the gap here. And we'd like to know that we're supporting the initiatives that you have. We can say something like that. We can't be the ones implementing this. It's up to Jim to implement it.
Would you like
I mean-
to see progress reports?
one of the, it's fine. None of my goals made it into here, but like I would have liked some more language, like by putting, summer or after school tutoring, like putting something in here that's specific.
Programs.
That,
Well, it says
that's programs, that's. I
I know, but we all know how broad we can be sometimes.
That level is us, basically, basically telling Jim how we want him to implement it.
How about
And that's-
Yeah,
student-
and as a
what we-
board,
and
we
that's
can do
what we
that
get.
sometimes.
And that's where we get,
student-centered programs, does
one
that-
at a time.
Yeah, I like
didn't
something
finish
like that.
I didn't finish though. So what happens is if we're gonna, as a board, we can set a policy, not a, or a policy-making board. As soon as we start being the prescriber of how we should do it, then we've kind of moved out of our element.
Can we add, to develop strategies, maybe hire staff as well, because I guess we don't know if we'll need a staff member for it, but or professional development for staff or something, because I feel like if you're gonna develop a program and
Well,
develop
that's the strategy.
strategies. yeah,
Remember, ours is the what, his is the
Got
how,
it.
right?
Okay.
We're the what, he's the how.
So I just want to confirm that we're now, it's just gonna say learning loss, period.
Correct.
We can't say due to the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
We can't tie it to whatever, I mean, we can remove COVID-19 and say due to the pandemic. I think it needs to be tied to what the learning loss is. You could have a learning loss from anything.
We had learning loss before the pandemic, but
Yeah, there could be a learning loss.
we
from
didn't
anything.
address,
That's, I mean,
address that.
to Alex's point, I feel like there could be learning loss in this school year, just, or I don't even know if it has to be gaps in learning loss. It could just be gaps in learning. Because there is, we have, I don't know.
I think
Yeah, I think we know with raising the hands. Okay,
Concept of not having
Hang on, hang on.
school year.
let's go in order
Would
here.
you add student-centered in front of programs?
Spring
We do support student-centered to make it very specific.
say that
I
again.
like
Supporting
that.
continued
You
development
add
strategy.
Support and continue to develop strategies and student-centered programs. So we know that those programs will focus specifically on students.
Sure, I like that.
Student-centered.
So you can keep code. I mean, if
And
you
then
want-
maybe
Student-focused,
COVID.
student-centered, something that relates to students.
So are we okay with this one or,
We'll go around.
Yes.
I'll start with you, John. You can be the leader.
But
of that.
so it's because there's a change here, so it's gonna be support and continue to develop strategies and student-centered programs to close gaps in learning loss, period. That's what we're voting on right now?
Unless people want it.
I cut it after learning.
You'd cut it after learning, gaps in learning.
Close
That's what I
gaps in
thought.
learning. Okay.
Yeah.
Close gaps in
Which is what
learning.
I think Alex is saying too.
Okay, yes.
Yes? Okay, Alex?
You added the student centered something. or
Support
another.
and continue to
Yes,
develop strategies and student-centered programs to close
yes,
gaps.
yes,
in
yes,
learning.
yes.
Shwanda?
Yes.
Natalie?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Jeff? Yes.
Irene,
Okay. Support initiatives addressing student SEL and mental health. Support initiative.
Why is it just student and not student staff?
You can, this is going through the
No, I'm just-
third round.
Because nobody gave them any
There's nobody
feedback
gave them
prior
any
to now.
feedback.
Yeah, I apologize for not sending you stuff. I feel like you need to send out an email after
Yeah,
meetings. Yeah.
We
to
talk
be
about it
like,
at the meeting, yeah.
well, there's a lot going on.
I'm okay with adding in staff.
Students and staff,
Students and staff?
addressing student, staff, SEL. and
The staff covers all personnel, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it does.
I would
Yes.
add and staff.
Agreed.
Okay, well, so,
I'm updating you as you're going.
I know.
so Amy, we'll start with you.
Why
Yes
can't
or
we
no?
type as we're going?
Denise?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, like
Irene?
live on the
Yes.
thing.
Natalie?
Yes.
Shwanda?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes,
John?
Yes.
Me, yes. Okay. Support programs focus on personnel, retainment, and recruiting with a focus on new initiatives, methods to hire diverse individuals.
Can I-
Or,
Oh, okay, thank you.
or you go, or we can substitute that one for the one on the second to last point on the bottom.
I'm in favor of the lengthier one. It's a little more specific.
I'm in favor of the lengthy. Or the specific role, I should call it.
I feel like this is one that we've had a hard time defining in this way, so I am good with the length. Like, I feel like we haven't been able to ever write it in a way that made more things happen. So I'm okay with like clear one.
Receive progress
Yeah,
information.
We see
from
progress
ad-
information.
Administrators, like what are you doing to hire? Is that what?
Um,
Whoever is responsible for bringing a person into this district. So whether it's a school principal, whether it's the BA, or whether it's the assistant superintendent or the superintendent.
You would like updates and progress of how they are.
Correct. Correct.
And how often would that occur?
I don't want it after every hire, but if there's an influx of hirees at a certain point, do it then.
Right.
If it's dormant September through November, then there's no report.
Jim, how do you review with this now? Because I know we've had this, I know we've had meetings around it. I can't remember. What's the cadence? Is there a cadence that you have right now?
I think what we've primarily done is kind of looked at, in each year, kind of given updates and kind of progress we've made over the years in terms of how many, people and different diverse candidates have been hired over time. I don't know that we've really ever given. I mean, I think we have on particular positions within our executive session talked about, well, we did this and we did this and we did this, and to try to, increase the pool of candidates for a particular position. I don't know that we've ever really given an update in general. as
You
to how
have said though, when we've hired, I remember when we were hiring a bunch of elementary teachers, you've said like we've had, you gave us some numbers during.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
certainly-
it's
we
not
certainly talked
contextual.
about, like I said, numbers and different things, but I mean, if you want to talk about strategies we use and things like that, I mean, we're always, I mean, the main hiring season is spring, right? As we hire for the next school year. But there's always hiring that's happening throughout the year. I mean, if the board would like an update in the fall, an update in the spring, I mean, whatever, whatever you'd like to do to kind of know what we do or have done in that time to try to increase the diversity of our candidate pools, we could certainly provide an update.
Yeah, so I mean, just to make this clearer, I mean, why don't we just say,
I mean,
No,
if the board would like a progress report on board goals at,
a certain time,
we're already in
yeah.
November, but February, March, whatever, we can get an update at that time or whatever, whatever. the
Yeah.
board
Yeah,
feels.
so, I think that's, so I'm not sure if we need to have that first sentence. We could just make it so that we,
Or just say at minimum quarterly.
I think there needs to be a time, like Shawanda's saying,
The
because
only
I,
time we've ever
Don't
received it was
understand.
when.
we get the
it was
report
asked in
card.
Executive session.
and it's
That's
not,
the only time.
and it's not like given in context, like it might be like for this position, there were 3 Latinas and maybe 1 Black candidate, and then it went to,
Okay,
but we don't know what the overall
John, did
is.
you have a question?
Except,
I have a question or comment then. Who says that our goal has to be the why and not the what? Who says that? Who gave us that recommendation?
That's just generally the way our
Because
board,
of-
because we're a policymaking board, right?
Okay. Because, Sean, I really respect I'm breaking my, I respect the specificity of this goal. I would prefer, because I think that it's redundant. The first sentence, I will not vote in favor of, because I think that that's not keeping in line with what these goals should be. I think that we should receive those things, but I don't believe that they should be a goal of the board to receive progress reports. I think that's just an assignment to the organization, to the administration, that we can all vote in favor of and say, hey, from now on, we'd like this, and I would be in support of that. And I think that just the first sentence after that, the second sentence of the entire thing is redundant to what it is said below. And I think that so if you remove those first 2 sentences, I really like the way that this is written in that last final sentence, and I would vote in favor of that.
Starting with support strategies and
Yes,
practices in hiring
correct.
diversity.
are you comfortable with that, Shawanda?
That's fine.
I think, I agree with that also, but I do think by eliminating the first time it was mentioned, support programs focused on personnel retainment, we're losing that piece of it. So maybe that's a separate goal.
The retainment
The
piece.
retainment piece of all staff, especially supervisors. And so we're looking to hire diverse candidates is one goal, and then supporting personnel retainment across the board, I believe should be a.
Yeah, retainment is just a bigger issue as,
Sorry.
retainment is just as big an issue as is
Correct.
recruiting, yes.
Right.
Well, we can say support strategies, practice in hiring and retainment. If we wanted to do that, we could.
But then you're
I like them
combining,
as separate.
I like them separate. I think they,
Okay, we'll add a separate sentence.
Where are we
so we're
putting
doing
that?
support.
I'll-
I think it's
I'll,
two separate
I'll-
goals.
No, 2 separate goals, maybe. is
Yes,
what-
That's
They're
what I
separate
meant, two
goals.
goals. not two
Retainment is
separate
across
goals.
the board.
Okay, we're making a new
So
one.
support program focused on personal retainment, period.
Yes.
And then the Shawanda's
Support
goal is gonna,
Strategies and practices.
strategies.
for
Mhm.
hiring.
okay.
Support strategies and practices
Okay.
in hiring diverse teachers.
All right.
That makes sense.
I'm a
That's
yes
2
for the-
separate goals.
Okay,
Yes.
So are we
Yep.
eliminating the first 2 sentences on that, the longer?
Correct.
yes,
Yes,
yeah.
but it's a separate-
I'll add it with
I'm
you.
already done.
Okay, great. Okay,
You can see if I did it right.
Yes.
the last one.
Are we voting on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought everybody was, can I get a show of hands? How was that? Everybody good with that? Okay, good. You have to read the crowd, Irene. So, support improvements related to security district-wide. Anybody want that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Everybody want that one?
I think it should be a little more specific.
I agree.
I think we need to say, get an entry-wide system or something like that. Let's move the needle and
I don't know about budget.
and do something.
Alex, I want that just as bad as you do. I just don't agree that it needs to be in these goals. I completely agree with you that we need that. And I'm hoping that that recommendation comes soon from the administration. And then we can all push to get that done in the budget or whatever. But I just don't want that specificity in the goal. And I do want others. I understand the irony of that statement.
Yes,
but
I know.
It needs to be broader so that we're not micromanaging the administration.
Everybody in favor of this? Oh,
Wait, can we say support improvements and technology related to security district wide, just so it's a little more
To
specific?
security
Yeah.
and technology.
Support
Or cyber
improvements and
cyber.
technology related to security district wide.
Improvements
Something
and
not
technology.
tech.
Right, meaning not all improvements are technology, like what we just did.
Yep, okay.
right?
Not related to.
I'm fine
okay,
with that.
yeah.
everybody else fine with it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now that's it, unless somebody has a sentence that they would like to, make these meetings, support the humor in these meetings, or,
That's great.
that's it, everybody good?
Yeah.
We've had
Buttoned
many
up?
meetings.
All right, great, okay. Super, hey, thanks everybody for the participation, that was fun. I enjoyed it, I did enjoy it. I'm glad we got to that spot. Just as a final point, these goals are between now and June 30th, right?
We have to do it all over again.
Okay, so I think the way we would
Start
start this
now.
and starting in May.
Because this
in
is the
May
first
for
year we're
July
doing
1,
this
May
cycle.
for July, once we get into the school cycle,
Start
right?
now.
Okay, any old business? Shwanda?
We were supposed to discuss the calendar. I have it in my notes that discuss board calendar.
Natalie,
Natalie
when-
brought up last meeting about eliminating, or why do we have work when we just skip over it?
Yes, I have to look into that.
Or do we?
That was from your suggestion.
Thank you. Or do we just
What was the
discuss it?
suggestion, Nat? Can you repeat that?
When we have public, we have regular meetings, we also do work meetings, but we
Yeah.
don't actually do that. We jam them in 5 minutes upstairs and we should just.
Should just eliminate.
That was-
Yep, I will communicate. And ask
Can
for
we
that.
just talk about it?
Sure, we can talk about it.
I guess the reason it went to that, I mean, we've always had it before, but the reason why it was kept that way was because then we eliminated a third meeting a month. We used to have 2 work meetings that were like this, and then we would have the last meeting, if there was any cleanup, and then the regular meeting. Last year, I had said that maybe we needed to make that work meeting, instead of a half hour before our regular meeting, a full hour, because of exactly what you're saying. I do think that we rush through things, but that was historically when, for years, we had 3 meetings a month. So we were trying to go down to 2 meetings a month, so we kept that.
We are not
Which-
successful. going to
Correct,
meetings.
which is, right, which is why I thought there were why I had said last year that maybe we need to add time to that work meeting. Because if you add time to the work meeting, then your regular meeting should go
Should be
really
shorter, should
fast,
be
you
shorter.
know? We've also talked, I know that Denise and I have said over the years that, and I asked Tina one time, because we were talking about other districts that'll just go, so if I'm financial management, whatever number that is, I would say move to approve 5-1 to 5-12 and not read them out loud during a regular meeting, because we've already read them out loud so much in the other 2 meetings. And so that regular meeting really is 10 minutes long. So
Like that.
I would personally be in favor of doing an hour
So-
work and then,
So what you're thinking is that meeting, so our regular meeting would then start, the regular meeting would start at 8 o'clock.
which is what it used to start at years ago, but we did start at 7. So it was always that work meeting was always a half hour.
And
It's just basically whether people want to have 3 meetings a month or 2 meetings a month.
Amy, except for, well, everybody, except for budget time, we actually are pretty good at 2 meetings a month.
If we take
looking
that
at the
work thing
calendar.
out, you mean? if we-
No, like right now on the calendar, we're at about 2 meetings a month.
Yeah, this past year was great.
Right, but I'm saying, but if you go back 2 years ago,
Correct.
Yeah. right?
So, then yes, if it's on here, it needs to be meaningful.
Of
So if we're gonna
course.
Do it, then yes, we should start regular meeting at 8 o'clock. And that should be quick, and the work meeting should actually be a work meeting.
Is there anything, Is there anything, did you ever check on this from a policy standpoint, like what the board, the New Jersey School Board recommends or anything like that?
Well, I just think it was always the 2 readings for things. So that was the reason why you always had at least 2 meetings. So you could have 2 readings for policies or 2 readings for different things you need to talk about. So that was the reason I think where the 2 always came
Well,
from.
the two is one for discussion and then vote.
Right.
You know, just the work meetings, by nature, work meetings are longer meetings. It's where the discussion happens. Regular meetings, it's usually just a vote. There's very little discussion that would occur at that time.
Right.
It's how our meetings used to be pre-COVID. I mean, our regular meetings were a half an hour.
The COVID thing.
But we'd have work at that half-hour work meeting prior to the regular meeting, just to kind of wrap up any last minute questions, or if there was, some other issue that may have arisen. It was a quick way to just settle that. So when the
There was
regular
always
meeting,
personnel, like
it was
personnel was
just-
always there. It will always
there
be there.
wasn't need for more discussion. But that kind of, it all sort of disappeared.
I mean, I think it would be good to try it and see,
That's our own version of learning loss due to COVID.
but I don't know if we need it in December or like, do you want it for December? or You want that to be a change in
No, I think
January?
it's part of the reorder.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's part of the new thing. We've already established in
Yeah.
all the meetings. I think you start in January if you're gonna change.
I'm just gonna talk to Mary and just have a quick conversation with
Yeah,
her.
I'm just-
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your decision.
So we're extending the time of the meetings now?
We're kind of flipping it. So right now, we're rushing work and regular is taking a long time. Work should be work for an hour and then regular should be very quick.
It's that one meeting,
And the
Regular
regular
should just
meetings
be-
always used to
not
start. at
every meeting, just
Regular
that
should
one
just be
meeting.
a vote. There shouldn't be any and public comment.
John,
It
did
seems
you have-
like we're,
John, do you have some?
Yeah, so we'll just have this as an agenda item on the next meeting to discuss and
Yeah, I'll see if there's anything any
that'll be considered
stipulations
our
that,
first discussion and then we probably be able to vote on it the following meeting.
Well, if I may.
Sure.
In the next couple meetings, we would probably be putting forth a draft of the board calendar for next year. I would suggest, next meeting is a regular meeting. I would suggest the first December meeting, we have it on the agenda as a discussion item with a draft calendar for the entire year to look at. And I think that would be the discussion to have at that time. So not next meeting, but the meeting after.
Could we jump I think that's a good recommendation, but one modification I recommend is maybe at the next meeting, we have our first discussion where we provide our recommendations so that you know what you're building ahead of time and then you build it out. Or are you saying that you want?
Well, I'm
the
saying it's a
administration-
regular meeting, so I mean, typically I think we're trying to get back to this format where those kind of discussions are happening in work meetings and not the regular meetings. Voting meetings were for voting. I mean, you certainly could have a discussion now. I'm not saying you can't, but that's more of a work meeting topic that you can spend time on, or that needs to spend time on.
And there is, there is a work meeting before that regular meeting that we could have that discussion in. Yes or no?
There's a work meeting in December prior to the regular.
There's not a work meeting in the next regular, prior to the next
Our
regular.
next meeting is the regular meeting.
But it has the 30-minute work meeting.
Right.
Yes.
So we
yes,
could
but-
discuss it there, provide our.
I
input.
don't think the discussion is gonna take long.
Yeah, I agree. So that's my recommendation is I think we should have it on the agenda to discuss. And then we can have a proposed calendar for the following meeting that we can vote on.
so what was supposed to be prepared today?
It was supposed to be.
When I asked and I moved and it was seconded and I said, how do we go about getting it on there? And you said, well, I decide what goes on there. And then you know what, I'll put it on there. So what were we supposed to do today with that calendar?
What we just did.
What we just did.
I just wanted a conversation.
So
I think the only thing I was gonna do was ask Mary Ann if there was some,
So unless there is a rule that says your board must meet X amount of work meetings or your work meeting
then
must
it would
be
be totally
this
up
or
to us and
that,
we would do what we want.
then we decide what we want that calendar to look like.
Yeah.
Okay, and we will have a draft calendar. What date?
That's them.
I think the first December meeting,
And we will vote on it when?
the second, well, when do you vote on the,
Calendar
I
usually
I
votes on
vote on the format of the meeting on the reorg, the calendar.
No,
I think
previously it was
we-
done
yeah, we
before
could do-
that,
We could do that in December.
because I know it was done before I was
Yeah,
sworn
we
in.
could do that.
So when are we presented with a draft calendar and when are we voting on it?
If you don't know the date.
I don't know
if you
the
know
date.
the
First
date.
meeting in December will be
December
On-
6th,
The draft.
for, to be looked at as a draft calendar.
and then December 20th.
And the next meeting would be on for approval.
So December 6th, we will have a draft calendar to review, and December 20th, we will vote on the calendar. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Assuming that's what we have, yep. Assuming everybody's able to pull it together, we will have that.
Are we able to pull it together?
I'm not sure yet.
It will be pulled together.
Thank you.
If it can't
There
be,
will be pulling,
can't be,
it will
we'll
be
know.
Pull
together.
it.
yes, John,
If we're done with this, I have a different topic for old business.
sure.
I thought this was brought up and I don't know what happened with this, so I just wanted to bring it up again. It was a very sad Friday night football game and it was unfortunate the team lost but they put up a great fight. I gotta say, I think they really had the door open on a lot of opportunities to still win that game, even though the scoreboard doesn't reflect that. But thought that we had mentioned a discussion of
Coach Klein.
yes, recognizing him as the winningest coach in Ocean history or something like that. Do we have an update on that or?
Season just ended. We'll talk about that. We'll get them in.
And what's that gonna look like?
When we did
You
it.
want
we
Just gonna
did it.
sit here and read a resolution, is that it?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the board would like it to look like.
It's what it's been in the past when we honored,
And
we
we've had
just did a
other
plaque
coaches
and we
in
had,
for
and some of the
specific-
team, like
Yeah.
the team, the football club would probably let the team know and tweet it out, so if other players wanted to come, they could, but I don't know
Awesome.
that it's like a.
Sounds great.
You want the marching band?
I mean, I'm be down to have the marching Spartans in here. They get me revved up. You know, they were playing some great music at the game, so they were part of it too. We don't win without them.
So we'll
like-
discuss that. Okay, great.
I just wanted to thank Tina for making all the arrangements and for allowing us to go down to the school board convention. I spoke with several other board members that were on previously, and one of them, she said to me that it was discouraged for board members to go down to the convention. They thought it was a waste of time, a waste of money. But it was wonderful to go down and see our students recognized, our staff recognized, and so I thank everybody for allowing us to do that.
Nice job, Tina.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Anybody else on old business?
I have just two quick things. I apologize for not bringing this up in the goals and we don't need to have any discussion on it. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, I do hope we could fit in some kind of a quote commitment to equity in some kind of language, because the word equity is not in a single goal that we just went over. So I'll just leave it at that. I forgot to mention that earlier. And my second comment about old, do you have a date on when, like, I think it's you or who else is meeting with town council to go over, like, weren't we doing every 3 months or
I
every
think
2
it's
months?
December 6th. We have a meeting with them.
Okay, and we're still doing like rotating members get to attend or,
This is just for us to go over the shared services agreements between us and them. So we weren't gonna do rotating. I don't think we talked about having rotating people
it's,
going.
I brought it up. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
so,
think-
so who's going?
I would assume it's gonna be myself, Irene, Jim, and Tina. And on their side, it will probably be
The mayor,
the mayor.
Deputy, David Brown.
David Brown.
and Richard Gertz.
Yeah, so
who is
probably
the
them, yeah.
Finance.
I mean, is there any way to,
John is.
The acting mayor, who's the acting?
I think John's gonna be.
He's the acting both?
Acting what?
I said, he's the acting mayor, who's the acting deputy mayor?
Oh, I don't know yet.
I just would like to propose that if this becomes regular, as we discussed, we're gonna start doing, which we haven't done since what, 2008 or something like that, that was brought up in a meeting, that we make it a revolving, rotating chat with council.
I don't think that's unfair.
I mean, per our own bylaws, there's some president and vice president responsibilities. So, I mean, why can't we all have a seat at the table for council? Does anyone disagree? Is that something that could be motionable?
The only thing with that, Alex, is that it's kind of good to have continuity
gonna
between
say
the
the same.
meetings. So when you sit down with them for, say, I don't know, in January, and you're continuing the conversation in March, you don't want to have to, rehash everything, that kind of thing.
Well, I would hope there would be, minutes or obviously a report. And perhaps if the president and vice president do attend, but like, why can't I sit on it for the June one? Why can't Shawanda sit on another one, be the third person, be the fourth person? I think it should be a little bit more transparent for us members,
Do you have a comment about that, Jim? No?
I mean, if you're gonna do something like that, I think it would be wise, taking into Denise's comment, that the president and vice president be constant. And if you were going to rotate other members in with that, so that you have other representation, but you have a constant to maintain the continuity.
That
Yeah.
sounds.
Did you have a question?
Not a question, but I guess to piggyback then, so can we resolve it and say, obviously, the president and vice president, and then it's an open door if any board member wants to?
Well, I don't think we,
You
I
can't
think we
have
would,
more than
not-
four.
yeah, I think we, I think
You
we
have to
would.
cut
Well, I
down.
mean, as long as there's
Yeah.
as long as there's no.
I mean,
more
also,
than four.
but then we're gonna have a lot of people in the room, right? So it's,
They have big rooms over
Well, you
at
could have
town
more than
hall.
two more.
But I guess
thank
to
you for
resolve
that,
it, is there a
Alex.
way
Really
to
appreciate
just,
that.
well, do we need a motion
mentioned the
and
big
put it
rooms.
up or down, or how do we handle it to move it forward?
Do we need to check with the council first and see like what kind of an agenda? As you said,
Uh,
we've only been
I don't
talking
think-
about
No, what, do you want to say something about this?
shared services for this last meeting, and then we're going to follow up December 6th with shared services. But if you want to make it an open meeting,
Not open, just to the floor. more
no,
than
no,
four.
I mean like an open agenda of, we're going to sit and chat with you, town council members, and, we've got a beef about the traffic or whatever. I think they
No.
need to know what we're going in with.
No, I don't, I mean, I think this one has a clear objective, which is
Yeah.
we're doing shared services. That's what the meeting's about.
Right.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
I was gonna say that I don't think it's, I think to Jim's point of having the constant two and then a third go in. I would be okay with, if it's, Alex, John and Natalie want to do it throughout the year and you're gonna have 3 meetings. Okay, Alex, you come to the first, you come to
Yeah.
the second, you come to the third, along with the 2 that are here. I
Agreed.
don't think there's a problem with that.
I'm okay with it. I mean, I think I'd probably be more okay with having one person, only because typically these meetings aren't,
Yeah, one
One
extra
one
person.
extra,
right
yeah.
into it.
One
Can you
extra.
do it based on committee, like whatever your topic is? So if shared services is a financial topic, then you can have a representative.
we could do it that way. We
Yeah,
could do it on
But what
a.
if, what if
ad hoc
all
basis.
3 meetings are about mostly financial stuff, then,
And most
I'll
most
yield to
likely
you.
will
You
be.
can go
Yeah.
with town plan.
I don't
which it
wanna
probably
go.
would.
So
You
why don't-
you don't wanna
why
go,
don't-
so-
Why don't we just say that, because sometimes people can't make it and it's during the day, right? I mean, when is it on the 6th at like 1 o'clock or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't we just say 2 weeks or so before the meeting comes up, we'll let everybody know. We'll say what the agenda is and we'll say who wants to be there. Okay?
For our calendar purposes, though, it's December 6th at 1 and where, here or there?
There.
That's it there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You sure it's at one? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a one.
We said the same time. I think we still have to confirm it.
Yeah. So right now, anybody have an interest to be there at this meeting at 1 o'clock?
I have to check my calendar.
Okay,
But-
well,
I do.
if you have an interest,
I raised my hand for the record. Yeah, I would love to.
first, you raise your hand first.
Yeah, I have it at 12 o'clock.
We have a 12?
Can we
We
all-
have a 12?
Can we
It's at
all
12
agree to
o'clock.
yield to
It's at
that
12?
if she wants it?
Is it 12 or 1? 'Cause,
I have 12
If I show up
in
at
my
1 and you
calendar.
guys already had it at 12,
And we have to
Okay.
confirm the attendance.
I
All right,
might,
anything else for old business? Anything for new business?
So I mentioned this previously in a discussion of another topic. I don't dare ask this board to encourage our town to write a letter to Trenton, so I'm just sharing this here. I think that anybody watching this and all of us should be informed if you weren't present at the legislative board meeting at SBA, which I also thought was great, Irene. It was mentioned and it was brought up. And it was a great example of bipartisanship too. I want to be very clear, like there were clearly people there who were caring about the schools, which is a wonderful thing to see. from the Senate and the House and the Assembly. But it was brought up that the investigation task force for the S2 funding formula was approved in the Senate, and it is it is just sitting in the House, and it is in the Assembly, and nothing is being done with it. And that is a 6-month task force that is going to make a conclusion and recommendations that will then be voted upon. So we are still very far out from any type of resolution or solving of what is going on with S2 funding. And this is bigger than just our district, but to represent our district, that is something I think our parents should be aware of. But to give context, I believe it was said that one of the Toms River school districts is $42 million lower than they were previously. So, I mean, this is a bigger deal than just our district. And I think that more people in this town should be aware of it and reaching out to the representation in Trenton and encouraging them to push this through the Assembly, because we are suffering from it. And so are many other districts near us that would add to a flourishing community here in Monmouth and Ocean County.
So,
I just wanted to share that.
okay, good. Just one point on that. So just tracking back to, we think about how we kind of go this. So is it one of these things that maybe we should talk to our Assembly people and discuss it with them?
I would love that.
Okay, so is it okay if I call our Assembly people and discuss it with them?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, cool. Before we send out letters and get.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks for bringing that up. Anybody else with new business?
Oh, I have a new business. Is the high school ID system working? Somebody told me that high school students don't have their ID badges yet. I could totally be wrong. But are those machines working? I thought
They always, I mean, it always takes a little bit for the new ones to come in.
but it's November.
I'll have to check to see if they have them. I'm not sure.
My kids
Aren't the
have.
principals on or no?
No.
Okay.
We
And weren't
usually
the,
have them by now, but.
and the middle school, weren't they supposed to be getting ID badges too? Because my 2 kids haven't
They
gotten
have
them yet.
ID badges. They're not required to wear them. They're required, they have them.
And those are just the Chromebook ones? Like that are stuck in the Chromebooks, Or, okay, so it's not on a lanyard.
No, neither school are required to wear them all day. It's supposed to
I thought we were requiring the high school to wear them all day.
Never required the high school. They have to have them. They show them when they enter the building.
What?
It was brought up previously.
Yeah, I thought we said you
No, I'm
have,
telling you that it was brought up,
Yeah,
it was pointed out that
yeah.
it was, we
that we don't.
we were unhappy about it, but it was just brought up that, hey, it's not happening. Is what I'm telling you.
I thought we voted that it was gonna be required. Okay,
That would have to go into policy.
I'm sorry.
That would have to go into policy.
Any other new business? Nope. Okay. So let's move on to public comment. Anybody in the public like to make a comment on any item at this time? Come on up.
How are you?
Good. Do you want to go to the mic so people can hear you? And I think right now, all you probably need to state your name and your municipality.
My name is Gino, and I live in Wanamassa on Wickipeco Drive. And the reason why I'm here tonight is I just have a couple questions because I was a little concerned about, I'm sure all you are aware of the internal email that went out in reference to the gender identity and so forth. So I think counseling is very important for everybody, and I'm all for making sure that every student has the protection and the counseling that they need for whatever situation arises. But the question I have is, the one thing that sticks out the most is the hiding the information from the parents. I'm not sure how the process works or, what the process is. That's why I'm here to find out, the information. So if a student expresses that they'd like to do whatever it is that they want to do, change their identity and say, I want to hide it from my parents. Now, if they bring this to a teacher, does that teacher then turn this over to a counselor at that point? Or is the teacher, have the ability to move forward with that and do it on their own?
Jim, would you like to?
There's a process in place that goes through, the counseling and through the administration. And it's, there's a formal process that we work with the student from a counseling perspective. We would certainly not recommend, it's not a, in this class, I go by this name, in this class, I go by that name, and we work with that. If a child comes to a teacher and says, this is what I want to do, they're absolutely referred to the counseling staff so that we can assess, the full range of situation. Then there's a process that takes place. And that's really all prescribed in policy and in law.
Right. Now, that's the next question. When you say in law, is this an actual law?
Yes.
And if so, is it a state mandate? And if so, when was that state?
Well, when
mandate?
you say, what's the this you're referring to?
Well, what, hiding the identity of the student?
Yes, it is it is law
Is
in the
that
state of
law?
New Jersey that if a child is, and it's part of our transgender policy. And the specific law would be referenced in that policy. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it'd be referenced in that policy. So unfortunately, I think we could all agree that in a perfect world, having parents involved in that conversation with kids is ideal and necessary. But unfortunately, home is not a safe place for all kids. And there's many situations where, or even if it is a safe place, a child just may not be ready to express that part of themselves to their parents. And so the law allows for that, for the child to be able to have that without that going to, without the school. The school should not be the organization that, quote unquote, outs a child in that capacity, right? So, now there are exceptions to that if a child is in a situation where they may be that they're in a place where they're potentially threatening harm to themselves, or if they're being bullied for a particular reason related to their gender identity, then we are compelled to make parents aware of what's going on there. But the law prescribes that we really should be talking with the child to have the child be the one first to tell the parent.
So
And
if
it's
we
a
do-
may,
so
it's not an
basically we
absolute,
do
but there are some
encourage-
exceptions to the
We
rule.
encourage parent involvement is what you're saying, because that was my main concern, because, the worst way for a parent to find out something like this, number one, if they want to hide their identity, it's not like the parents aren't going to find out. I mean, other kids are in school, kids talk to their parents, parent goes to a football game, the neighbor's sitting next to him and says, hey, I heard about your kid in school, sorry about that, how's everything working out? Parent says, what are you talking about? And that would be like a very bad situation for a parent to find out that way, in the middle of whatever settings that they're in. And if we have students that are coming and they're saying, hey, I want to change my identity and I want to do that, hopefully we're encouraging, and I'm sure we are from what you're saying, that we have the parents, we want parents in this process because they need to be part of the process. I mean, you have a child that's raised their whole life with their parents, and now you're gonna, I think this causes more of a divide rather than.
I don't know that I would use the word encourage, because once again, I think there are a lot of family dynamics that encouraging someone to do that may be very problematic. So I don't know that I'd use the word encourage. I think there's a lot of counseling that goes on to try to provide the student with the supports that that student needs in order to involve the people in the situation that they wish to involve and when they're ready to involve, everyone.
So,
So,
if
I
there's
think
a
that's
harsh
more,
environment in the house, let's say there's a harsh environment and the student says, I have pushback or whatever,
Mhm.
at that point, we should probably refer to outside counseling to come in, because I don't think at a school level we would be able to handle that.
Well, that's assessed by the school
Right.
and, you know, if we feel that that's necessary, but, you know, realizing if you're talking about a minor, outside counseling would
That's why
need
parents
the
need to be
parents,
involved,
and
you know,
so
minor and.
it's a
So-
very, it's, you know, it sometimes is a very difficult situation,
Right.
you know?
So this brings me to another question. So let's say a student, hypothetical, student, you know, goes through this transition period and they change their name in school and
Mhm.
now the student's being bullied. Okay.
Mhm.
And now this turns into a HIB report. You have to file a HIB report.
Mhm.
Under state and federal law, anytime there's a federal law or anytime there's a HIB report filed, parents have to be notified of the outcome of that report.
Correct.
So now if you have this student that's saying, I don't want my parents to know, and the school's giving them what they need, and now we have a HIB report that's being filed, how are we not going to get the parents involved, and how are you going to hide their identity?
As I said, that's one of the exceptions
Okay,
that could, and it's a may, not a will. But it's all outlined in the policy, and it does state that if there's a HIB situation, that we as a district may need to inform the parents of what the situation is, but there would be an opportunity for the student to share that information first and foremost. And that would be probably more ideal than the district doing it, but it's a may, but you know, yes, you know, like I said, if there's the potential for harm to the student in some way, then the law of protecting the confidentiality of that student may not be able to be realized by the district.
and the next question I have, I'm not sure if you have the answer, what percentage of our population in school falls under this?
Extremely small.
Very small, that's 0.3%, 0.2%.
I'm sorry.
0.3%, 0.2%.
Yeah, I mean,
Very small.
it's very small.
So the next question I have is, when I first saw this initial email that went out, which I'm sure everybody saw because it's circulated all over the place. The first impression I got is that we're promoting this. We're promoting
Not
this
at all.
to go out and you know, help the students and tell them, come forward to us, we're gonna help you, we're gonna do this.
Look, I think there's, you know, if you have a child who, you know, there's different things that I think when you talk about promoting this, right? Are we out there encouraging kids to change gender? No.
Right.
Are we out there putting out a message that says, if you're a child who's questioning, if you're a child who has questions about their, you know, their gender or gender identity, you know, we're here to help you. Yeah, I think that's a message, as with many other issues that kids go through. If you're
Right.
having issues with substance abuse, if you're having issues with this, if you're having issues with that, we promote our support for students in the issues that they go through. Are we promoting kids to change genders or go by different names than their birth name? No, we're not doing that.
Right. And one other question I have is, do we have an equity coach for our schools?
Yes,
And who is that?
Allison Connolly.
Okay. And is it possible that we can maybe one day have her come and explain what she does?
Well, that's something, if we, the administration, feel that that's necessary, we can do that. But she does have a job description that is publicly available and can be accessed at any time.
Right, because I think with the equity, with the word equity, it you know, that's covers.
I mean, the bottom line is she works with our staff
Right,
to ensure equitable practices in the
Right.
classroom and in the schools.
which is
That's-
important.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for the information. I just have one other thing to talk about. The CDC has changed the immunization schedules for our children, okay, including the COVID vaccine. Okay. Will our schools start to require the COVID vaccine to be part of their shots that they get before they come and attend school?
Vaccination schedules for schools are determined by state, right? So the CDC doesn't have the ability to mandate any kind of vaccination. The state does that. At this time, I'm not aware that the state of New Jersey has mandated COVID vaccine.
Okay.
So we would not certainly do that on our own as a district, or unless the board would so choose to do that. But at this time, that's not the law in the state of New Jersey that I'm aware of.
Okay, and one last comment in reference to the building and selling it and moving and maintenance and everything like that. I'm not sure if this is an option or not, but have we looked into the areas behind Seaview Square Mall? There's a lot of property back there. I think the town owns some property back there. You did? Okay, I'm not sure if that's an option or not. I mean, you have a pumping station there where the cops get all their gas now,
Yeah, we looked at that particular
you know,
property.
and as far as maintenance and stuff, I'm not sure whether that could be,
They were
worked
not
in-
able to give us that, to move us there.
they weren't, okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay,
for today.
thanks. Anybody else? Nope. Ms. Conway, anybody remotely like to make a comment?
No, President Weinstein, there are no commenters.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thanks for the good discussion tonight.
Knew it.